Hello, all. Okay, I am going to read to you from fourth grade Rats. Now, in class, we've already read chapter one together, but I'm going to read it again. You can either follow along with your book and read along with me, or you can skip ahead to chapter two. But I thought I would just start from the beginning. Okay, fourth grade Rats by Jerry Spinelli. Chapter one Rats Don't. First grade babies, second grade cats, third grade angels, fourth grade rats. It was the first recess of the first day of school. A mob of third graders had me and Joey Peterson backed up against the monkey bars. They were giving us the old chant. When they came to the word rats, they screamed it in our faces. Then they ran off laughing. I wish I was still in third grade, I said. Why? Said Joey. So I could still be an angel. Not me. He climbed onto the first bar. I waited 3 years to be a rat. He climbed to the next bar. And now I am a rat. He climbed to the top bar. He shouted over the schoolyard, and proud of it. I started to climb. My sneakers slipped on a bar, and I went down instead of up. The first thing I landed on was my hand. My thumb got bent back, way back. Pain! I howled as loud as I could. It still hurt. I kicked the ground, the monkey bars, the nearest tree. My thumb still hurt, and so did my foot. Only one thing left to do. I cried. Joey's voice came down from the high monkey bar. Rats don't cry. The bell rang to end recess. I jogged, sniffling, to the door. When I got there, Judy Billings was behind me. Like a miracle, the pain in my thumb disappeared. For me, there was no such thing as pain when Judy Billings was around. I loved her. I was sure that any day she would start to love me back. In the meantime, she mostly ignored me. But I kept trying. Judy was in the other fourth grade class, so I didn't see too much of her. When I did, I figured I had to make the most of it. That's why I held the door open for her. She went through. As usual, she ignored me. I didn't care. For 1 second, she was inches away. Heaven was a trainload of those seconds. A little while later, during silent reading, a spider crawled onto Becky Hibble's book. Becky screamed and flipped her book into the air. The book landed on the floor. The spider landed in my lap. Next thing I know, I'm on my desktop, tap dancing and yelling, "Get him off me! Get him off me!" On the way to lunch, Joey's whisper came again. Rats don't get scared of spiders. We sat together in the lunchroom, just like last year, and we both brought our lunches from home, just like last year. We sat at our usual table. I opened my lunchbox. I was checking out my stuff when I heard Joey snickering. I looked up. He was wagging his head. His face was smirky. I looked around the lunchroom. What's funny? That, he said. He was pointing at my lunchbox. What's wrong with it? I said. Ain't that the same one you had last year? Yeah. So what? He snickered again. Look at it. I looked at it. So? What do you see? I see a lunchbox. What do you mean? What do you see? A Martian? He flipped the cover down. Look at it. What's on it? All over it. I looked again. Elephants. He broke out laughing. He pounded the table. His face was red. I had never known I could make him so happy. He tried to talk a couple of times. What? What? But he kept cracking up. Finally, he slapped his hand over his eyes and got it out. What are they doing? The elephants? Yeah. They're flying. This time I thought lunch would be over before he stopped laughing. Other kids were looking over. Gerald Willis, a sixth grader and the school bully, threw a French fry at Joey, but that didn't stop him. I unwrapped my sandwich. I didn't have all day. At long last, he took a deep breath. He said, "Right, flying elephants, big flapping ears, doing yo-yos with their trunks." "Some of them," I corrected him. "Other ones have fishing poles." His cheeks bulged with laugh balls, but he swallowed them. "Morton," he made himself serious. "Don't you get it?" "Get what?" "Flying elephants on your lunchbox, man. That's little kid stuff." He picked up his paper bag. He wagged it in my face. "This is what a rat brings his lunch in." I took a bite of my sandwich. What do I care? "That's just it, man. You ought to care." He opened his bag. "If you don't care, who will? Your mom probably got you that box, right?" "Yeah, I guess." "Right. Moms. They just want they just want to keep you a baby all your life. Suds, I'm telling you gotta put a stop to it now. If you leave it up to your mom, you'll be going off to college with a flying elephant lunchbox." I looked at my lunchbox. I'd had it since first grade, when I was a baby, and glad of it. Most of the other kids broke their lunchboxes or lost them, so they got new ones every year. My lunchbox just kept rolling on. The elephants were fading, and some were even starting to look like hippos. But I loved my lunchbox. It was like a brother to me. Now that I thought about it, I wasn't even sure I could eat lunch at school without it. And as for my lunchbox going off to college with me someday, well, to tell you the truth, I didn't see anything so bad about that. I looked at Joey. He was wagging his head and smirking again. Uh-oh, I thought. It's not just the lunchbox. Chapter 2. Real Meat. Okay, so let's find out what else Joey thinks is wrong with what Suds is doing here. "Okay," I said. "Now what?" He pointed. "That. My sandwich? You gonna eat peanut butter and jelly all your life?" "Why not?" I said. "I like it." I took another bite. He sneered. "Yeah, right. I can see it now. You're in this big fancy restaurant with all these fancy big shot business people, and everybody orders their dinners, and the waitress comes to you and you go, 'Duh, I'll have the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, please.' Right, Morton. They're really going to be impressed. So what am I supposed to be eating?" He laid his sandwich on the table. He opened it up. "Bologna? Meat, Morton. Meat." "I eat meat," I told him. "Real meat, Morton. Ever eat a steak?" I thought about it. "I don't know. Maybe once." "Ever eat a pork chop? A roast beef? A liver?" I put my sandwich down. "You're ruining my lunch." He looked proud. "I ate a bite of liver last night." "You're lying." "Swear to God." "You didn't get sick?" "Nope." "How'd it taste?" I shuddered at the thought. He made a face. "Terrible." "Terrible? So why'd you eat it? You're stupider than I thought." "Not as stupid as wanting to be an angel baby all my life. You want to grow up? You got to eat stuff you don't like. And I'll tell you something else." He leaned across the table, getting real serious. "It's an idea of mine. The worse it tastes, the faster you grow up." Now it was my turn to laugh. "Yeah, right, Peterson. All I got to do is go find a dead skunk and eat it, and poof, I'll be 30 years old." He slapped his sandwich back together and took a chomp out of it. "Forget it, man. You want to be a baby? Go be a baby." He went on chomping. I didn't feel like having a fight. I said, "Okay, maybe I'll ask my mom to make me a bologna sandwich one of these days." "I don't care," he shrugged. "Say," I said, "where does bologna come from anyway?" I was trying to picture herds of bolognas roaming around on ranches. I never got an answer. The bell rang. We packed up our lunches. We didn't even get to eat most of them. As we headed out, I wondered if anybody was looking at my lunchbox. At the door, we bumped into Mrs. Sims. She was my third grade teacher. I really liked her. She never exactly said so, but I think I was her favorite student. I hadn't seen her since school ended back in June. Suds Morton, she said. How's my big fourth grader? She held out her arms. One thing about Mrs. Sims, she gets physical. If she decides she wants to hug you, there's not much you can do about it. So I just walked into those arms and let them wrap around me. How are they treating you up there? She said. Well, the teacher's okay, I said. She backed off. She looked at me. You mean something's not okay? I felt squirmy. Well, it's not as much fun being a rat. At first, she didn't understand. Then she got a big smile. Now, don't be so glum. Before you know it, fourth grade will be over and you'll be a. What's fifth grade? Monkeys, I told her. Of course, monkeys. You'll be a monkey. She hugged me again. She whispered, and don't forget, you'll always be an angel to me. She laughed and sent me on my way. In the hallway, I felt a hand on top of my head. Was Mrs. Sims following me? I turned. It was Gerald Willis, who was born a rat. His lips were puckered. They were making kissy noises at me. Ooh, little Sudsy, my little teacher's pet. Where's my apple? Didn't you bring me an apple today? Before I could do anything, he swiped at my lunchbox. The cover sprang open, and everything fell to the floor. My half eaten peanut butter and jelly sandwich, my pack of pretzels, my cupcake, and my apple. I scrambled after the stuff on my hands and knees. Kids' feet were everywhere. Somebody crunched my pretzels. As I reached down for the apple, a big, dirty sneaker kicked it down the hallway. Above me, Gerald Willis was howling. I was the last one back to the room. I stashed my lunchbox and sat down. A note was waiting for me from Joey. It said, Swings after school. I looked over at him. I nodded. Okay, so Suds is not doing what he should be doing, according to Joey, if he wants to become a rat. He needs to eat meat. He has the wrong lunchbox. He can't cry. He can't be afraid of spiders. There's a lot of rules to becoming a rat. Okay, chapter 3, number 1. Okay, as I read this, pay attention to who number 1 is. Our schoolyard has 2 tire swings. The tires hang on ropes from a bar. You just plunk your rear end on a tire and swing, or just sit if you want. The tires hang almost to the ground. That's so the littlest kids in school can climb onto them. And that's the situation me and Joey walked into after school. We were going to powwow at the tire swings, but 2 little kids were already there. They looked like first graders. Guess we'll have to go find another place, I said to Joey. Guess they'll have to find another place, Joey said. He lifted one of the first graders out of his tire, plunked him on the ground, and sat in the tire himself. The first grader's face got red. His ears got red. You rat, he yelled. Joey nodded and smirked. You got that right, kid. All eyes swung to me. Would I do the same as Joey? The kid on the other tire looked feistier than her pal. From the look in her eyes, you might have thought she was a 10-foot cat and I was a mouse. Nobody got a chance to see what I would do because suddenly the kid bolted, tore out of there, and left the tire swaying on the rope. I realized she may have looked feisty, but she was scared. The other kid took off too, but not before he yelled, Rat, and spit at me. Missed by a mile. First graders are not good spitters. Sit down, said Joey. I sat on the tire. I don't feel right about that, I said. About what? About kicking those little kids out. I kept seeing the girl's eyes as she ran. It was the first time anyone had ever been afraid of me. I couldn't figure out how I felt about that. Suds, Joey said, remember the 4th of July at the park? What about it? I said. The talent show? Yeah. The bench? Huh? Joey got off his tire. He stood in front of me. The bench we were sitting on to watch the talent show that we didn't sit on for very long. Oh, yeah. It was coming back to me. Some kids kicked us off it. Fourth graders, he said. They dumped us off. They lifted one end of the bench real high so you and me slid off onto the ground. I laughed, picturing Joey and me zooming down the bench like it was a sliding board. Man, I forgot all about that. I didn't, said Joey. He wasn't laughing. So, I said, now that I'm a fourth grade rat, I'm supposed to go around dumping little kids off benches? Is that it? There's more to it than that, he said. I started swinging. I'm all ears. Joey got back on his tire. He matched his swinging to mine. Suds, he said, you're in fourth grade now. That makes you a rat. Stop fighting it. It's nature's way. I can fight it if I want. Yeah? How? I thought for a minute. I'll do rotten in school. I'll do so rotten they'll have to flunk me back to third grade. Forget it, dude. You can't go backwards. Time marches on. I liked being an angel. Joey stopped his swing. He reached over and stopped mine. Suds, you ant brain. Angels finish last. What did you ever get out of it, huh? Did anybody ever say, "Oh, thank you, Suds. You're so nice. You're such an angel," huh? Anybody ever say that? Not exactly, I had to admit. Your mother ever say, "Oh, Suds, you're such an angel. You don't have to clean your room anymore." Guess not. Are you allowed to stay up late? No. Are you allowed to go anywhere you want by yourself? No. Are you allowed to say no to your mom? Course not. He poked my tire. See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm glad you know what you're talking about, I said, because I sure don't. I'm talking about growing up, he said. I'm talking about not being an angel baby anymore. I'm talking about taking care of number one for a change. I felt stupid, but I had to ask. Who's this number one? He pointed. You, dude. You're number one for you. I'm number one for me. Number one. That sounded good. Maybe there was something to this rat business after all. But what about crying? I said. Why can't I cry or be scared of spiders? He got off his tire. He faced me. He was dead serious. Because real men don't cry. What's men got to do with it? Before you said it's rats that don't cry. That's right, he said. That's the whole point. Being a rat is the next step up to being a man. You want to be a man, don't you? Sure, I said. I guess so. Well, he said, you can't be a man without being a rat first. He poked me in the chest. That's what fourth grade is all about. Except for us, the schoolyard was empty. Parents were calling their kids in to dinner. We headed home. As I walked up the driveway to my house, Joey said, See ya, rat. See ya, I said. Before I reached the door, he rushed back. He grabbed my arm. Don't forget, he whispered. Say no to your mom. Oh my goodness. So, Joey feels like fourth grade is when you become a rat, and a rat, he said, is the next step up to being a man. And according to Joey, being a man means doing what you want, not crying, not being scared of things, and worst of all, saying no to your mom. Ooh, I wonder how that's going to go. Okay, we have one more chapter that I'm going to read. Chapter 4, Zipper Nose and Bubba. Huh. Let's find out who Zipper Nose and Bubba are. I'm no good at hiding my feelings. My mother says I would never make a good poker player, whatever that means. Bad first day, she said as soon as she spotted me. I slumped on the sofa. Worst day ever. She whistled. That is bad. What happened? I don't know. Lots. It's hard to explain. She sat down beside me. She patted my knee. Give it a try. I took a deep breath. Well, it's all about being in fourth grade now. You know, a rat. Third grade angels, fourth grade rats. So I'm not an angel anymore. She snapped her fingers. Well, golly gee, you could have fooled me. You're not funny, Mom. That's your opinion. I happen to think I am quite funny. I glared at her. Yeah? Well, you wouldn't think it was so funny if you were in fourth grade and everybody was giving you a hard time. Life isn't as simple as it was in the old days, you know. I got problems. Her grin disappeared. Her eyes changed. She stroked my hair. Yeah, I guess you do. Tell you what. She squeezed my leg. I think it's time for a bath. Yeah, I said, I think so too. I dragged myself upstairs. When I was a baby, I had upset stomachs a lot. It made me pretty cranky. You were not a ton of fun to be with, my mother says, but she discovered something that helped: a bath. The warm water would have a good effect on me. I would stop crying. I would calm down. Sometimes she would pour in bubble bath. Pretty soon I'd be laughing and splashing. Suds were flying. My mother says each time a bubble burst on my face, it made a freckle. She says suds gave me my curly hair, too. One thing's for sure: suds gave me my name. I stopped having upset stomachs by the time I was 2, but I never stopped liking a warm bath. It doesn't matter what time of the day or night it is. If I'm sad or ticked off or wound up about something, I usually feel better if I head for the water. Well, that's what she meant when she told me to take a bath. 5 minutes later, there I was, in the tub with my tugboat and my dinosaur. I guess even I had to admit that I was getting a little too old for toys in the bathtub. But I still like them. They've been with me as long as I can remember. What was I supposed to do? All of a sudden hate them? Throw them away? I started thinking about my life, the important things in it. Mr. Disney World t shirt. Oh, my Disney World t shirt. My bike. My Klondike bars. My Matchbox car collection. Heavenly Hash ice cream. Sliding boards. Spider Man. Winky, my one eyed teddy bear, my oldest friend in the world. I tried to picture my life without them. I couldn't. I always thought when you grew up, stuff like bikes and bubble gum just sort of disappeared from your life. You didn't want them anymore. They got replaced by cars and coffee and all. I never thought you actually had to give them up, whether you were ready to or not. I thought growing up was just something that happened. You just sort of went along for the ride. But if Joey was right, growing up didn't just happen to you. You had to work at it. And that, according to Joey, meant being a rat. For the first time in my life, I wanted time to slow down. I didn't care if I never had another birthday as long as I could keep my one eyed teddy bear. My brain was sore from all this thinking. I ran the faucet some more. I left myself I let myself sink into the water. The lower I sank, the better I felt. It was like I could feel time slowing down, feel it stopping, going backwards, back to third grade angels, second grade cats, first grade babies, little yellow tugboats bobbing in the water, bobbing, bobbing. My mother's voice: Sudsy, dinner time. As soon as I sat down to dinner, Zippernose, otherwise known as my sister Amy, sneered at me. Rat! She didn't stop there. She puckered her mouth and raised her upper lip, baring her two front teeth. I had to admit it was a good imitation. Rat, 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 she went. My mother plopped some mashed potatoes on her plate. Amy, stop. It was too late. Baby brother Bubba was already baring his little fangs and going, "Wat, wat, wat." He doesn't say his R's right yet. Bubba, you too, snapped my mother. Right, Mom. Now Zippernose was nibbling like a rat on a slice of bread. And now Bubba was nibbling like a rat on his hot dog. And now my mother was standing and slamming a serving spoon down on the table. I said, stop. She glared at my father. Elmore? My father looked up from his plate. Stop, he said, and went back to his eating. My mother is pretty laid back, but compared to my father, she's a nervous wreck. Okay, so what does that mean? My mother is pretty laid back, but compared to my father, she's a nervous wreck. So laid back means that you don't let things get to you. Okay, it just kind of rolls off your shoulder. Well, he's saying that his mother is pretty laid back, but compared to the father, it makes her seem like a nervous wreck. So that means the father is super laid back. Okay, that's why he just kind of looks up and says, stop, like he's really trying. All right. My mother sat back down. Mom, whined Zippernose, I can't help it. He's a rat now. I'm just treating him like the dirty, rotten, slimy rat that he is. Wat, 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 said Bubba. Enough, commanded my mom. Amy, another word from you, and you can leave the table. Zippernose's words stopped, but not her faces. She kept baring her front teeth and nibbling on her food. All right, said Mom. Upstairs. Zippernose screeched. Mom, I didn't say anything. You're making faces. You said not another word. You didn't say not another face. I'm saying it now. Your dinner is over. Leave the table. Upstairs. To your room. Close the door. Good night. Zippernose stomped off. Before she ran upstairs, she yelled back, Rodent. Bubba echoed, Wodent, wodent, wodent. Then he started laughing. When Bubba laughs and eats at the same time, he becomes a midget volcano. Pieces of mashed potato and hot dog were flying everywhere. I slammed my fork down. I'm out of here. I stomped off. My mother called, Suds, here. I didn't say no, like Joey told me, but I didn't say yes either. I just kept going. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Now, you have an assignment to do in Google Classroom, and if we didn't finish the vocabulary in school, then you need to finish the vocabulary also. So go ahead and go to Google Classroom to finish the assignment.